clipped your toenails on a plane? Or put your feet on the tray table? Do you recline all the way back? Flight attendants have seen it all. So here to dish the dirt to us three former flight attendants, Stella, Samir, and Eric. I bet you've done that about a gazillion times, right?
I know, but it's been a while, so I was like, do I still know how to do it?
Now, if you follow the passenger shaming Instagram account, you're going to find lots of pictures and videos of bad in-flight behavior that I'm sure you've all encountered, or maybe you haven't, because take a look at these. Picture number 1. That is someone getting their toenails clipped.
Yep.
On a flight. Someone's doing it for them. What? Okay, this guy's walking out of the bathroom without socks or shoes. Pro tip, that's not water on the floor. Check this out. Can't wrap my mind around it. That's a bag of pee, everybody. So this person didn't even make it to the washroom. I don't know how that happened. I don't know why it's hanging on the back of the seat in front. It's pretty bad stuff. Here we've got bare feet on the headrest in front, feet with shoes on the tray table that people are going to be eating off of, which seems very sanitary. And here we have people who have never cleaned a washroom before, because there is no way you would ever leave your bathroom like that at home. So listen, there's a lot to talk about, and I'm sure you all have seen it all. Stella, I want to talk to you about the passenger who thought it would be cute to inflate the life jacket.
Oh, yes, yes. So I have some funny stories on board, but one in particular, I had this teen who came on board.
Yeah.
And so he was like polite during the flight. He was awesome. But then we were deplaning, so everybody was getting off of the aircraft. And I could see him wearing something yellow on his outfit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, what is he wearing? So I take a closer glance and I see that he's wearing a life vest.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so before I could actually say anything, he goes to the in-charge flight attendant, pulls the toggles, inflates the life vest, and says, I always wanted to do this. But I think he didn't realize that when he inflated the life vest, it wouldn't be like that cool, because he would look like a hot dog. And he was like walking around like this.
And then there's major ramifications to that.
Yeah,
what
so
do you
we
have to
actually
do when
took a-
someone inflates the life vest?
Well, I mean, every life vest is accounted for.
Yeah.
So every seat has a life vest. So when somebody does something like that, you take a delay, because you have to get a life vest back on board.
Yeah.
And we had a quick turnaround, so we had to delay that flight for 2 hours. And also, I mean, he got in trouble too.
Yes.
I don't know exactly what ended up happening to him, but
Yeah.
he definitely got in trouble.
And he just thought it was a kind of a cute thing to do.
Oh yeah, totally cute.
Samir, how about a passenger that was feeling a little hot? A little flushed?
I remember that flight really, really well, actually. So coming back from the Dominican, I had a passenger that rang the call light, and I just went up to her and basically asked her if there was anything I can do for her. She said she was really hot.
Yeah.
So the temperature in the cabin was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I said I'd see what I can do. I gave it a few minutes to see if she would just actually, not call back. To my amusement, she was topless.
She was really hot.
Yes, yes.
She was really hot. So
She
what do
was
you
really
do
hot.
when someone's topless on the flight? Like, do you...
You guys
Is that allowed?
It's I guess it's not illegal, but I guess when you're in airspace, it possibly isn't the right etiquette.
So you had to tell her to put her shirt back on.
I did, and when she refused to do so, we actually had to give her a warning card.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
get warning cards on the flights. I've
You do.
actually never seen one administered, but it's like soccer.
Yeah,
Yellow
literally.
card.
It's a yellow card.
That's an offense.
It's a yellow card. It's an offense.
So
Yeah.
then what happens? Then she's topless with a yellow card.
So she's topless with a yellow card,
Yeah.
right? And if she doesn't put her top on, then she's met by the police when we land.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
So that's how it works.
Yep.
Okay, we often hear about flights where they go around and they'll give you the wet towel service, which is quite lovely. So this happened with you, Eric. You gave out the towels, and what happened?
It did. We'd given out the towels, and I was in the middle of picking up the garbage after the conclusion of the meal service. A flight like any other, and all of a sudden I look over and there's an elderly lady. She had bare feet, and she was literally cleaning her feet with the wet towels. She was being very thorough, though. I appreciated that. She was getting right in between the toes, scrubbing, and so I saw this, and then what she did is she went to hand me the towel, and it touched my hand. And I had the most disgusted look on my face because the colleague that I was working with, I must have been like, because she says you can't have these types of expressions in the airplane. You can't show the passengers. I'd recently started when this happened.
Yeah.
And anyways, that was probably one of the most disgusting things that I've personally ever had happen. And this was before the days when we were allowed to use gloves. Back then, the airline didn't want us to use gloves when picking up garbage because they felt that it didn't project this refined image. But I think flight attendants kind of raised a bit of that concern, for sanitary reasons. And now when garbage is picked up, at least we're allowed to wear gloves.
Yes.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
But,
Thankfully. And maybe don't clean your toes with the wet towels. Just something to keep in mind. I know you want to be clean, but maybe not. Eric, you've also busted people trying to be part of the Mile High Club. How awkward is that? How awkward is that? Like, how do you find them and what's happening?
Tracy says, awkward as you want to make it. I mean, so I was working a flight. It was a Christmas flight, and I was working with a good friend of mine. And I was in first class. He was working in the back, so he came, rushing up to me. He says, Eric, he says, I think there's 2 people doing it in the washroom in the back. I thought, oh my gosh, we got to do something. He's like, what do you think we should do? I said,
leave him alone.
I said, what do you suggest? He says, why don't we do this? So we got a little card that said, welcome to the club.
Yeah.
We had all the flight attendants sign it. We had the captain sign it, the first officer, the entire crew sign this thing. I then went to the back of the aircraft, and they were sitting a couple rows, from the very back.
Yeah.
And I slipped it under the table tray latch. It was just kind of sitting there. And I just waited it out. A couple minutes later, all of a sudden, the lavatory door opens. Gentleman exits, it closes really quickly, it locks, and he scurries into his seat, into the window, and acts like nothing happened.
So did you finally present them with the award?
Well, so I discreetly went up to him, I sat down on the aisle, I put my arm around him, and I said, man, you gotta love those automatic locking doors. And then I pointed to the little card in the table tray latch.
Yeah.
He, of course, goes bright red. I then went to the back, waited for his partner to come out of the washroom, and as soon as she did that, I said to her, hey. She turned around and said, Merry Christmas. And so that was kind of the end of it.
Here's another thing. We've all been on flights where everybody gets, everyone gets up to get off at the same time when the seatbelt sign goes off. And I'm like, what are you doing? You can't get off right away. Like, this is how it should look to deplane. Take a look at this B-roll. And Stella, you can explain. How's it supposed to work? Yeah,
so the way it works is when you're deplaning, you start from the front of the aircraft, and then you continue on. And then it goes to the back. So front people first, and then it continues on. But you get people who want to connect, and so they get up, they grab their bags, they start to leave, and then it kind of messes the order of everything else.
Yeah. Speaking of bags, just really quickly before we get to our next part of the segment, is it okay if someone puts their bag above you in your space? Does that space belong to you, that carry-on space? It doesn't.
No, it doesn't belong to you. It's first come, first serve.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, the etiquette would be to sort of put your bags up where you're sitting. Yeah, where you're sitting.
But you don't have to.
You don't have to.
No. Okay, that's good to know. This is good dish. I love that.